HRBC show called Let's Talk. Today, we have the Honorable Kathleen Brown from the Virginia Beach School Board. And we're going to find out if she has what it takes to get your vote. So, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Sure, of course. My name is Kathleen Brown. I'm the current chair of the Virginia Beach School Board, and I am the representative for District 10. I was elected in 2022. That is the Green Run, Rock Creek, Buckner Farms, Chimney Hill area. I am serving, and it is the honor of my lifetime to serve. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 4 children. I have 2 kids here in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, a 2nd grader and an 11th grader, and a recent graduate. I have a background in business. I got an associate's degree from TCC later in life, and then worked my way through college to get a business administration degree from Liberty University. I coach figure skating for a living. And I bring that background because I do believe that extracurricular activities are also important for our students' development. So very happy to serve. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy with the work that's been done in the last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to continuing that work.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a few questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so what made you want to run again?
Well, so I want to build on the progress that I've made in the last 4 years. You know, one of the things that was a little bit of a challenge when I first got on the school board was parents weren't being heard. For the first 2 years on the school board, actually, I would get home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't feel like we were talking about academics. And so I didn't like that. I wanted to make a change there. I feel like I've made good decisions for a $1.2 billion budget. We've made $100 million in reductions to school construction, $22 million in reductions to central office and admin, and we put that into teacher compensation. I wrote a few things down here. We've increased teacher compensation by an average of 26% during the last 3 budget cycles. So that's important to me. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to build on that and creating more opportunities for students in Virginia Beach.
Awesome. Okay, that's pretty impressive. Okay. So now, how can you ensure that the board stays focused on student needs and not political agendas?
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned that before. There was a lot of political agendas. I felt like, at least as a parent, that I was witnessing. I came to the board, I felt really unheard. And I think it's important that we're making sure that people are feeling heard. That doesn't mean that we're always going to agree, but we have to find that common ground and work with not just the school board members, but city council and our legislators to make sure that we're really getting things done for students in Virginia Beach and having those conversations. One of the commitments that I made when I became chair was to talk about academics. We are talking about academics more than ever, and we do a lot of policy oversight. So we talk about policy oversight, academics, and then another big piece that we do is oversee that $1.2 billion budget. And we made a lot of strides in the direction of having those conversations about that budget and making sure that the community is aware of those conversations. And I think that we need to continue to work on that. And we need to just be calm and reasonable and make sure that we're looking at all of the facts and have all of the conversations before we're making those decisions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now, teachers can barely afford to live in the city where they work. Now, what are your ideas on how we can change this?
Yeah, so, I think, like I mentioned before, teacher compensation has been a priority for me with that 26% average teacher increase in pay. This year, we've come out with a budget. We were behind Chesapeake for the longest time. Now we are above Chesapeake, which I'm very happy to report. In compensation, we are 5th in the 7th city for starting teacher pay, but our 5, 10, 15, 20-year teachers, we are now number 3 in that compensation area. We're always going to have work to do in that area because costs are going to continue to increase. Inflation's going to increase. But for me, we have to have that balancing conversation because we don't want to lose sight of making sure that we're making decisions that are going to positively impact our students, and we don't want to take away student resources. Another piece of that, Nina, is, the state funding mechanism. We ask the state legislators on a routine basis to not bring us more unfunded mandates, yet every single year they seem to still bring us some unfunded mandates. And so that's another big conversation that I want to have with those legislators in this next term. And a lot of folks don't know this, but kindergarten teachers are funded one teacher per 29 students. And that's what's coming from the state legislation. And so I think that if we could get our state legislators to address that method and funding method for those students, that we're going to do a lot better. Now, I'm not suggesting that we increase class sizes at all. In Virginia Beach, we have closer to 15 to 17 students in kindergarten. I had the privilege of visiting schools on the first day, and I was counting how many students were in each classroom because I know about this mechanism as I've been participating as a Hunt Policy Fellow. And so I think that that's really one idea. And of course, I'm really proud of the work with working on that revenue sharing formula. I renegotiated that revenue sharing formula with City Council and had an extension there. Our city does provide us more resources than they are required to by law, but we do need the state to step in and really step up when it comes to that funding mechanism. And I'm looking forward to having those conversations.
Awesome. So, one of the high schools received a lot of bad press due to racist tensions. Now, how would you handle a complaint from a district parent who came to you? How do you, and also, how do you ensure schools are operating fairly?
Yeah, so I want to start by saying that racism is never okay. It's never should be accepted. It is in our student code of conduct that it is not acceptable. And that is the expectation for our students. And I think that part of that starts with conversations, right? And making sure that there's an open line of communication with your school board member and your principal and your teacher, making sure that parents feel comfortable having those conversations, because otherwise, when things are a whisper of a problem, then they aren't being handled. And so we need to be handling those before they get to be much bigger problems. And so I think that that's really important. And, to your question about a district parent bringing concerns, it depends on what the concern is, how you would address and handle that concern. Some concerns are, policy inputs and voting inputs. And so you have those, you take that into account as you're making your decisions, and you acknowledge that you've received it and you hear them, and you take that into account. Other conversations are, issues where they've interacted with the principal and they can't get any headway. And those are shared with the superintendent and followed up with. And that's really the person that we hold accountable as a school board, is the superintendent for that. And so we direct all communications through the superintendent. We can't direct any staff as individual school board members. As a collective board, we operate by majority vote and policy. However, there are sometimes that things fall through the cracks, and we need to make sure that we are addressing those concerns as they come up. And then other times parents are, in need of resources and conversations. And so, sending them to the correct resource, because sometimes that situation can be a little bit difficult to navigate. So making sure that they are able to navigate is also a top priority. And so, as a parent myself, I'm familiar with what the challenges are in the system, and I'm happy to be able to represent, and see when I see a problem, work to get in there and try to fix it.
Okay. So now violence seems to be a thing with this decade. So what policies or ideas do you have to ensure that the school environment is a safe environment?
Yeah, so some schools actually have zero tolerance for fighting at all. And I hate to say that, we can't fix what goes on at home, but we do have to partner with our community partners, the sheriff's department, the police department, the firefighters department. And quite frankly, extracurricular activities give students really good outlets. And I think that it's really important. So from a policy perspective, making sure that it's easy to access extracurriculars so students aren't getting themselves into, trouble. They have something to lose, then that's important to them. So from a policy perspective, that's important. Again, back to that student code of conduct. We do not want violence in our schools. We expect students to adhere to that student code of conduct. And when they don't, there is going to be accountability for that.
Okay. Now, here's my last question.
Okay.
What are the top 3 things you hope to accomplish if elected?
I always think the top 3 questions is so hard, right? To pin down any 3, but my first North Star is always academic achievement. And of course, everything that comes along with academic achievement. Every single decision that I make is, will this help students academically thrive? And almost every decision that we make is connected to that in some way, shape, or form. So academic achievement and opportunity for students is the number one most important thing. And I think that we made really good progress in that area. But again, want to continue. I will never stop wanting to continue because that's what we're here for. That's the most important thing that we do. Second is pathways to success. That is after graduation, we need to make sure that our students are prepared for whatever life looks like for them after high school. We have expanded workforce opportunities. We now have 14,500 industry certifications earned by our students most recently and 132 different options. We have those welding labs. We're creating a police and firefighter program. Really excited for all of those opportunities. I'm looking to support a regional workforce development school. Chesapeake has underwater welding. I want underwater welding here in Virginia Beach too. I want our students to have all of those opportunities afforded to them. And so continuing to work on the vocational workforce options, because let's face it, not every single student is going to go to college after high school. However, if they are going that route, we want to make sure that they are prepared. So for whatever option that they want to explore after high school, we want to make sure they're ready. And the third one is, fiscal accountability. We work with a $1.2 billion budget, like I mentioned before. We've had more input into that budget possible. We've saved $100 million on building construction, $22 million on administrative cuts that went into teacher pay and compensation, continuing to compensate and make sure that those dollars continue to go to students right where we need them and right where they need to grow.
Wow, that's a lot, huh?
Yeah, and so each one of those things has nuance to it, right?
Yes. Okay. So those are all the questions that I have. Is there anything else you would like the people to know?
Yeah, I just think I think it's important that we keep, strong, steady leadership on the school board. I feel like I've done a really good job with that. And, I have been out in the community. I talk to parents in the community, I'm responsive to emails from the community. We don't always agree on everything, but there is common ground. And I think that common ground is really important for progress. And so I look forward to continuing to serve. I am the only parent in this race with kids in our school system. And I do think that experience matters. And I also think governance experience matters. So I've built those relationships and I've spent a few years working on that. And I think that, I'm really just getting into the point in my tenure where I'm most effective. And so I'd like to continue. So I hope that I can have everyone's support.
Awesome.
And again, thank you for having me.
I just want to thank you for coming. It was such a pleasure chatting with you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nina. Have a great day.
Right. Bye.